Jamie Dimon goes off on Bitcoin from Davos, calling it a pet rock and even questioning the 21 million supply cap. Is he actually this ignorant in 2024? Or does he see Bitcoin as a threat to JP Morgan's business model?
It's a fray!
Also, GBTC sends 18,000 Bitcoin to Coinbase today alone. Will the GBTC fund be completely drained by the anticipated Bitcoin halving in April? There's lots to cover, so let's get into it. Welcome to the Wednesday, January 17th edition of the Bitcoin ETF Daily Show. I'm Dante Cook, head of Swan Business. In this show, we discuss the latest news, events, winners, losers, and key information surrounding the historic Bitcoin ETFs. Here at Swan, we're on a mission to educate the world about Bitcoin. So please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the notification bell to extend our reach and help us cut through the noise here on YouTube. With day 3 in the books, let's take a look at our overall market leaders. We have IBIT continuing its lead with another 212 million of inflows yesterday, totaling nearly 712 million in total. Fidelity is still in close second with 525 million of net inflows. We have Bitwise in third with 306 million in total inflows. And finally, we have Cathie Wood and ARK coming out of nowhere to claim the 4th spot, seeing the second highest inflows behind BlackRock yesterday. We may need to put an asterisk here as Cathie Wood is buying their own ETF shares. GBTC saw $594 million exit the fund yesterday, now totaling over 1.18 billion in sales of the ETF. If we take an average of GBTC's net outflows over the past 3 days, we get 391 million. At that pace of outflows, GBTC would have about 67 business days left in existence. But the market keeps absorbing GBTC selling, with nearly $513 million of inflows attributed to the 9 other spot issuers on the same day. With data varying between sources, we'll be conservative by stating between 43 and 81 million of net outflows occurred on day 3 across all the ETFs, including GBTC. In terms of Bitcoin, the pet rock's price, again, it's relatively stable, with Bitcoin being above 40K for 44 consecutive days now. Total trading volume is down roughly 13% from yesterday. Here's some quick tidbits of other ETF news. ProShares filed to launch 5 new Bitcoin ETFs that will track Bitcoin's daily performance. These leveraged and inverse ETFs will allow investors to amplify or reduce their exposure to Bitcoin's price movements. We have the ProShares Ultra Short Bitcoin ETF, the ProShares Short Plus Bitcoin ETF, the ProShares Short Bitcoin ETF, the ProShares Plus Bitcoin ETF, and the ProShares Ultra Bitcoin ETF. VanEck is shutting down its Bitcoin ETF. With a salty 17 million in flows over the first 3 trading days, VanEck is bowing out of the race. I'm just kidding. That's fake news. This is their futures ETF and not their spot Bitcoin ETF. Like giving your 16-year-old son the keys to your hot rod. Franklin Templeton's digital asset team took to the $1.5 trillion asset manager's Twitter account today and went wild. Overall, they're not wrong on the 60-40 portfolio with a little bit of Bitcoin. I ran the numbers for you. Over a 9-year period, if you add a 10% Bitcoin allocation to a standard 60-40 portfolio, your portfolio returns increase from about 7.8% a year to over 18% a year, and your risk-adjusted returns increased by over 111%. Franklin Templeton, the Bitcoin community was ready to give you our hearts and our dollars. You ruined it. What is DPen? What is Fire Dancer? Come on, do better. Now on to our main event for today, Jamie Dimon.
This is the last time I've ever talked about this in CNBC, okay? So help me God. Blockchain is real. It's a technology. We use it. It's going to move money. It's going to move data. It's efficient. We've been talking about that for 12 years too, and it's very small, okay? So I think we've wasted too many words in that. Cryptocurrencies, there are 2 types. There's a cryptocurrency which might actually do something. Think of a cryptocurrency as an embedded smart contract in it, and that we can use it to buy and sell real estate and move data. That may have value.
The idea of tokenizing things.
Tokenizing things that you do something with. And then there's one which does nothing. I call it the pet rock, the Bitcoin or something like that. And so on the Bitcoin, there's, first of all, and I'm not trying to make a joke here. There are use cases, AML, fraud, anti-money laundering, tax avoidance, sex trafficking. Those are real use cases, and you see it being used for hundreds, maybe 50, $100 billion a year for that. That is the end use case. Everything else is people train among themselves. So
speculate.
Yeah. Now, Okay, now my last statement, the last time I ever talk about Bitcoin is I defend your right to do Bitcoin. I think, it's okay. I don't want to tell you what to do. So my personal advice would be don't get involved, but I don't want to tell any one of you what to do. It's a free country.
What do you make of BlackRock? What do you make of the other firms, the BlackRocks of the world that obviously, and Larry Fink changed his view of this, obviously.
Yeah.
And maybe he changed his view because you think he genuinely believes in Bitcoin or believes it because he thinks that there's a marketplace for it and he wants to be part of that market. But what do you think of there's about a dozen big financial companies, Fidelity included.
Number one, I don't care. So just please stop talking about this shit. And I don't know what he would say about blockchain versus currencies that do something versus Bitcoin that does nothing. And maybe that's not different than me. But, this is what makes a market. People have opinions. This is the last time I'm ever going to state my opinion.
Gold really didn't do anything either.
Yeah, but gold's limited in supply.
So is Bitcoin.
And it's been used. So you think so, huh?
I do.
I think there's a good chance that when we get to that 20 million Bitcoins.
They go to 42?
No, that Satoshi's going to come on there, laugh hysterically, go quiet, all Bitcoin's going to be erased.
I think, man.
How the hell do you know it's going to stop at 21? I've never met one person who told me they know for a fact. They take that
mathematically, it can't happen because by the last one will be mined in 2150, and it gets harder and harder every time there's another halving. But Jamie, looking back over,
you guys do what you want, I'll do what I want.
As for gold, you can the 6 characteristics that make gold valuable for 4,000 years. They're all present in Bitcoin. That's all I'll say. And I love you, and I don't want to. And I also don't want to be a.
Joe, you may be right.
Yeah.
I don't own gold either, so okay.
That's what I mean.
Couple of quick final questions.
I like to own things that pay me incomes. It doesn't cost money to carry. Anyway, and it costs money to carry Bitcoin too, by the way.
We've talked a lot about commercial real estate here in Davos. There was a big 60 Minutes piece on Sunday.
But I think there's another risk to Bitcoin. If you can't solve the bad use cases, the government's probably going to have to close it down. So that
the thing about the money laundering, you can think, here's the number was 20,000, I think, for U.S. dollars in money laundering, and it was 35 for how much is done with Bitcoin. So at this point, the dominant,
is
I know, but the dominant
we know about.
Historically, the dominant currency for money laundering has been U.S. dollars.
I understand.
Okay.
A lot was said today, even though he said that he was going to stop talking about it every 5 seconds. What was even more striking than calling Bitcoin a pet rock was his take on the limited supply of Bitcoin. This is how we know, Jamie. Open source code that you can verify yourself. You know what you can also verify, Jamie? Bags of nickels. Let's not forget, BlackRock named JP Morgan an authorized participant for its spot Bitcoin ETF. So we can't be that disgusted by Bitcoin. Now, there are many people taking to Twitter right now saying that Jamie Dimon doesn't understand or that he's not intelligent or he's stupid. None of these things are true. Jamie Dimon has been the world's most preeminent banker since the late 1980s. Many cities, governments, states, and countries owe him, even the US government from their 2008 Bear Stearns acquisition. Let me give you my predictions on why Jamie Dimon said what he did today. Reason number 1, he's calling out Bitcoin's only use cases as money laundering, sex trafficking, terrorist financing because business is a booming.
Cousin, businesses are booming.
JP Morgan is no stranger to criminal activity. In fact, since 2000, they've paid $38 billion in fines to government authorities and regulators. Let me share a hypothetical business model with you. The business makes money from illegal activities. When caught, they work with authorities to pay fines at reduced rates. And boom, there's your profit. Hyperbole, but you get the point. Here's my second point on why he said blockchain and not Bitcoin. JP Morgan owns 10% of Consensus Software Incorporated, which owns valuable blockchain infrastructure IP. Most notably, the famous Ethereum wallet MetaMask and node provider Infura. MetaMask has become the default crypto wallet across DeFi, with around 90% market share of all Web3 users and more than 30 million users overall. He clearly has a financial interest in creating the Bitcoin versus blockchain debate. Outside of the fact that Bitcoin has the capability to make the banking institution obsolete, you have to take into account that Jamie Dimon has made a recent push for the Ethereum ETF. It's obvious which side he's on. He's pushing an agenda for an Ethereum ETF to get approved this year or next, so they can tokenize your carbon footprint and profit from it. Always remember, follow the money to learn the real motives of the main stage actors. Before we move on, can we take a moment to give Joe Kernan his flowers? In an interview with SEC Chairman Gary Gensler last week, Joe Kernan was unafraid to push back on the ridiculous claims about Bitcoin's only use cases being for fraud, money laundering, and terrorist financing. Where have we heard that before? I hope, like Joe Kernan, JK, we're on a first-name basis now, we all have the courage to speak truth to power when given an opportunity. And this week, there was no greater example of that than Javier Milei, the recently elected president of Argentina. Listen to what he had to say at the World Economic Forum today. Free market capitalism and trade is the only way to end hunger and poverty across the planet. The empirical evidence is unquestionable. The state is financed through coercion. Do not be intimidated either by the political class or by the parasites who live off the state. Do not surrender to a political class that only wants to stay in power and retain its privileges. Do not surrender to the advance of the state. The state is not the solution. The state is the problem itself. With Bitcoin, we have an opportunity to speak truth to power with our wallets. The entirety of the world's Bitcoin can be found right here. By writing down or memorizing 12 words, we are taking back power from financial authorities. You are giving away your power by buying Bitcoin through an ETF. If we all become educated and learn the truth about owning Bitcoin directly, we can win the race by avoiding the war. Join Corey Clipson, Swan CEO, tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern to learn how we can win the race to avoid the war together. Sign up for the free webinar in the show notes. And again, if you've been enjoying the content we've been putting out with these videos, please subscribe. Until tomorrow, this is Dante Cook with Swan Business. Happy stacking.